The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Can I have, if you can just put something in the chat, that would be great. This is Janelle Denson. I am the, okay, good. Thank you, everybody. That's cool. Anyway, I'm Janelle Denson, the HMIS data analyst here at Ohio. We also have in the room Amanda Wilson and Carolyn Hoffman, who are going to be watching the questions and helping with the presentation when needed. And so what we have this webinar is aiming to talk about is our reporting system. I want to make sure I'm showing the correct screen here. I am. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So, right, we're introducing our miner, which is going to be just what we're building a lot of our custom reporting in with the HMIS data. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that means throughout the presentation. So, the agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. Oh, also this will be recorded and posted within a week. And also there's the presentation is available through your, what is that called?
Handouts.
Yeah, through the handouts thing of the control panel. That's it. So if you need that, I mean, you shouldn't, because we're about to go through it, you know, slide by slide. So, but if you do need to download that, then that is available in a PDF format. So what we're going to talk about today is why we have this new thing, why do we need our miner, what the sort of components are of it, and sort of all of this has made us sort of think through what our custom reporting needs are. And then we're going to demo our miner for those of you who haven't seen it yet. And then we're going to do a tour of our miner elevated, which is the sort of version of our miner that you have to have a login for. But since this is going to be a publicly available webinar, we're not going to actually go to our miner elevated. We're just going to kind of look at it from screenshots that I've taken. So that's why it's called a tour here and not a demo. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about the transition from ART to our miner and what that means for us down the road. So we'll get started. So why do we need our miner? So our current reporting tools, I know I've done a webinar recently on what all of the reporting available to people are and where those reports can be found. And we talked a bit about having to rewrite a lot of the ART reports in another system, which we didn't have a name for yet, and we weren't done with, creating yet. So just to talk through what those things are, so there's reporting inside of Service Point. So that would be like your COC APR. So whenever you log into Service Point and you look at the left sidebar and you click on reporting, you can see several reports there. And those are the reports I'm talking about here. There's also a little known thing in there also called Report Writer, where you can go and sort of create very, very simple reports in a less than ideal system, but it exists and it's not too bad. And then but it wouldn't do for all of our custom reporting needs. And then there's the ART that's in Service Point, which is, so ART has always stood for Advanced Reporting Tool. And that refers to the business objects set up in the background that our vendor has sort of connected to Service Point to work with Service Point to create reporting, custom reporting. So to talk about art a little bit, it has been a very powerful tool. We use art reports a lot in our COC, and it's a very powerful tool, but it's outdated, and the vendors sort of let that go. They did not keep up with the updates that it required, and so now we're in a spot where eventually there aren't going to be any browsers that allow us to edit and create new art reports. So all of the art reports that we currently use, like the data quality report, the veterans active list, the prioritization report, the bed utilization report, all those things, they'll continue to be available to you, but one unnamed day in the future, which we don't know when that's going to be, we will lose access to edit those reports and change the logic or even check the logic. So that kind of renders that system obsolete, right? We need to move away from that because we can't get into that situation where we just lose reports like that. So then the next thing I have here is that explaining how like Click was going to be the replacement for art that our vendor has started up with, but it's not yet implemented correctly, and we don't anticipate that changing. So we have done this other thing, and that's what I'm going to introduce to you today. Is there any questions yet? Okay. Okay, so the new thing that we're building is I just want to explain sort of what the words are. So R is the programming language that data analysts use to do calculations and data wrangling required to create reporting. So as an equivalent might be SQL, or if you've heard of that, or Python, C++, things like this. So that's just like the base sort of programming language that that data analysts use. You will not need to know this. Like, I'm just telling you as a point of information that this is sort of how this is all being built. And then our Shiny is a software package that we're using. It's an R package that we're using to create our miner. And again, y'all don't need to know this. Like, it's not going to help you do your everyday job, but I just want to explain it for those of you that might have questions. And then so the part that will help you in doing your job is understanding the next two items, which is that, so our miner is the new reporting system that we're creating to access your custom reporting. So we'll have the QPR in there, project evaluation, and other reporting like this. Also the bed utilization. And like always, those reports are available publicly. And you can actually go to this URL right now and see what our miner looks like. And we'll do that soon, but that is live. So the second one on, well, I guess the last one on here is our miner elevated, which I haven't really talked about very much in the past. And it's part of the overall system that we're building, but it's got a separate URL. So because we needed a way to have custom reporting that was behind a login, because we want you all to be able to see how we're coming up with the calculations that are available publicly in our miner. So for instance, in ART, we have the COC level QPR, and then we have like a project level QPR. The COC level does not give client level data because we don't want that out in the public in the land. But you all need that so that you can check that our calculations are accurate and that you're seeing where in, what households were being counted in what ways. So, and that both of those are very important. So the way that's shaking out in our minor is that we're going to have one site for the public facing, and then another one which is going to be behind a login. And like I said earlier, we'll be giving you sort of a tour as to what that will look like, and we will be sending out invites to have a login to that site after the webinar. Like, it might be a couple of days, but you will receive an invite if you have a login to the Balance Estate HMIS. Okay, does that make sense? I feel like that was a lot. Okay, so in thinking about all of this, we were thinking about sort of what our customer reporting needs actually are, and what are we getting out of art that we're going to be losing, and how can we find that with another way that's not going to cost us a lot of money. And so what we came up with is that we need powerful and reliable data transformation capabilities. We need it to be we need a way to have data analysis that's reproducible. So we can create an analysis and then run it again the year later, and it's the same. And we know where that data came from and how it was produced. We also would like, and this is not something we're losing in art, some sleek and meaningful interactive visualizations. We kind of gotten that with Tableau a little bit, but so that's something that we really want. Also, we need a way of sharing the data analyses to the public, which currently the way we do it in art is we download the report and it's a PDF and then put that PDF on the website. And then we also need a way of sharing data analyses with a login so that we can share client level details so that you all can still have a way to tell exactly how everything's being calculated. And then we need a reporting system that we can use long term, regardless of things that our vendor might do, or things like this. So R and Shiny do all of this. And so R gives us the reliable data transformation capabilities. Shiny gives us the way of sharing data to the public and with a login. There are other ARC packages that help us create the visualizations. And all of these points are covered in this solution. So I'm not sure if everybody has seen our minor yet, but when you go there, if you're on your phone, this is what it would look like right now. So this is all a work in progress. And this is what we're calling the provider dashboard. So if you go here and you choose a different provider here, you'll be able to see the current and unit and bed utilization. If you click this, is it called a hamburger?
It is a hamburger.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you click the hamburger, you'll get a sort of a left sidebar.
Yeah.
You'll get a left sidebar that opens up, and you can see what sort of other things are going to be available in our minor, and we can go through that in a second. But this provider dashboard is meant to be like a quick way for you to check a number of things for anybody to check. So like your executive director who may not have an HMIS login would be able to go here and see here's what HMIS thinks our utilization looks like right now. We have 8 households and 10 units. And then also sort of we have 8 current veterans. It looks like 4 of them might need housing plans. And then some other items that we might add in the future are listed here. And then just more importantly though, if anybody has ideas about what you all would like to see on a provider dashboard, please send them in to hmis@cohio.org, because this is this R minor is for our COC. Like, this is not based on anything that HUD is making us do or anything like that. This is for you. So just let us know what will help you get people housed quickly, and we will work with you. So you can see here, this is what R minor looks like when you've clicked on the hamburger, and now you see the left sidebar. You can see sort of what the plans are going to be. Like, some of these don't have anything under them because it's just not, I didn't develop it yet. The logic isn't written. It's just not ready. But if you go to performance and outcomes and then bed and unit utilization, you can see a year's worth of bed and unit utilizations for whatever provider you pick in this drop down. And this slider is just meant to select the end date of the year that you're looking at. And then in R minor elevated, you'll be able to check, like if a certain dot worries you, you'll be able to check like February of this provider and see how this was calculated. So that's available currently. Another thing we have here is a start on the QPR. So this is the newer item that we added to the QPR this year. It basically compares those who are literally homeless in a county to those who are entering permanent housing projects during the reporting period in that county. So the triangles represent the people who are getting housed into rapid rehousing and PSH, the average scores of them. And then the lines represent the average scores of the people in that county during the reporting period who were literally homeless, and it gives the average of their scores. So you should see the triangles above the lines if coordinated entry is going well, because that would mean that your average scores of people who are getting into RRH and PSH are higher than those the average in your county. So that's just a very general thing. There's a lot more details here, and we can go through that more generally, but as an overview of our minor, that this is what's available. Well, before we go on to our minor elevated, I was thinking we could do a demo of our minor. So if we go to somebody who has a veteran, you can see that shows up. And if you don't have any veterans in your project, then you just won't have that there. You can see there's nothing here yet for COC competition. And then under performance and outcomes, I know we sort of already covered this, but this is sort of the bed and unit utilization. And if you drag this slider back, you can see it changes the year. The date range here goes from March of 2018 to February of 2019. So this is the end date. So you see 1 year of bed utilization on this this plot, and you can see bed and unit. So then we just covered this. These things break out and have some explanation of how exactly this was all calculated. And again, this will all be represented in R minor elevated so that you can see how we came up with the average scores for the triangles and for the lines. And this is newer and not totally finalized, but this is sort of what we're going to do for length of stay. You can see this is the goal line, and this is where people are, and we're only looking at region 6 in this particular case. Another thing to point out on this particular drop down, you can do select all and see all of the regions at the same time. So it's sort of easy to see like who the outliers are. Whereas in the current QPR way that we're showing this, it's all just like numbers and these guys are red, but you can't tell like how, like this will look very similar to the way that one looks. So that's that. And then none of this is done yet. These are just plans. And then another very important piece to this site is this last update right here. So it's the 4th, but all of the data that's being used for all these calculations, the last time the data was refreshed was the 1st. So that's really important to keep in mind. The plan currently, like right now, what I've been doing is updating it like every week or so. If there's a need for us to update it more than that, please let us know. Eventually it will be more, but since we don't really have a whole lot of reporting in here yet, I just have not been doing it. How do I do start from now?
Hit the finger. Oh, sorry.
That?
Yeah.
I never would have done that. Wow. Thanks, Carolyn.
Sorry to like.
Do we have any questions yet?
Oh, we just had one. Will other COCs that are part of balance of state have access to R minor? So
Other COCs?
yeah. So the public, anyone can see.
Do they mean other COCs like Cleveland and Youngstown? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's public. Right. Yeah. They would have access to it just like they have access to the current QPR and whatever we put on our website, thecohio.org. Or do they mean COCs like sometimes people call a county a COC?
Well, it said not part of balance of state.
Oh, okay.
But not elevated, just
right.
Public.
Right, yeah. The only, yeah, and now let's get to our minor elevated is that the only people I'm sending invites to for this are people with logins to the balance of state HMIS. So anyway, just as a short tour of what our minor would look like, you can see here, yeah, you can see here actually when you, no, I won't talk about that. So when you first go, I will talk about it. So when you first go to our minor elevated, it defaults to the prioritization tab, and there's nothing there because I haven't done anything there yet. So I'm probably going to change that soon, but it might be confusing because like there's literally nothing there except the left sidebar. So you would just go to the left sidebar, navigate down to performance and outcomes, and then if you clicked bed utilization, you would see a way to look at which clients were being included for that month's dot. Right, and then same for the community need portion of the QPR. You can see here that we have gone to the PSH/RRH details, so those would be the triangles. And we have it sorted to, selected to region 1, and then there was a lot of data here when I first came to this, but then I went down to the very bottom, and under all the data, there's a field here where you can type in a search query. So I typed in HENR for Henry County, and as I was typing, it filtered the data set to only show those where the county served was Henry. So you can see that it's very easy to, if you're looking for a certain client ID, you can do that. And you can also use this as a search to find things inside the data set that you've found. And then, of course, you can drag this just like you can in RMiner. And then county detail would be very, very similar. All of this I think they put 25 records per page. So you would page through the records with the next, or like I said, you could use the search boxes here to find specific things that you're looking for. And again, no one really has logins to this yet, but we're going to be sending out logins over the next week or so, the invites. Are there any questions about that? No. Okay. Okay, so I just want to make everything clear though that this transition from art to RMiner will be slowish. And art is still alive and important to our everyday work. You're still to use the data quality reports that are in art. You're still to use the prioritization that's in art. Most of the QPR is still in art. So I don't want to give the impression that like this is the new thing, art is dead, because that's not the case. And as we make this transition, the HMIS data quality standards will be updated as necessary to reflect changes to your requirements, so you'll always know like what's been changed. Be sure and be reading our listserv announcements for changes to the way you should be running reports. And also, if there is a disruption prior to us being done with RMiner and getting everything out, we'll let you know exactly what's happening if anything does happen to art between now and the end of the year. And this is, we know like change is hard and we don't love it, but we really do appreciate your patience and your ideas. If you have any questions or ideas as to how to improve the reporting or anything like that, please send an email to hmis@cohio.org. And are there any more questions? Are there any questions? This might have been like the fastest webinar ever. All right. Well, like I said, this will be recorded and posted as soon as we can within the next week or so. Can you think of anything I missed?
I can't, but maybe we should leave it hanging for a couple minutes in case people are thinking of questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Can the data be exported to Excel?
I have been looking into that and I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But if there is some sort of export necessary, I think that we could do it. I mean, there is a way. I just haven't figured out what it is yet. So like currently, no, we can't do that.
When will we technically start using this instead of art?
Oh, I did forget to cover a thing. I can't believe I glommed over this. Okay, so the bed and unit utilization, we already talked about it, but I forgot to mention that this is calculated in not the same way we have been calculating bed and unit utilization over the past however many years. So in the past, HUD has always, in their APR and in the AHAR, which is now called the LSA, the bed utilization report has been calculated by looking at the bed utilization on the last Wednesday of the month of a quarter. And so that has always been like really not the best way, because every time I tend to like sometimes it has turned up some real problems and we've been able to troubleshoot that. But lately, since we've kind of gotten a handle on our HIC and everything, it's just usually it's a coincidence. So you have a household that leaves prior to the last Wednesday of the month, and then you're turning over the unit, but you haven't got a new household in there yet. So now it looks like your bed utilization is really low because you measured on the last Wednesday of the month, right between when you had somebody in there. So we, in rewriting this report, I discussed with Erica, the COC director, about to ask if we should maybe start calculating this more the way the Columbus COC does, which is they count the number of bed nights served over a month and compare that to the number of possible bed nights that could have been served in that month, based on how many beds you have and based on how many days were in that month. So, and we have, going forward, this is the way we as a COC are going to be measuring bed and unit utilization. So we already got through the COC competition, and we've already gotten through, what else? Yeah, the QPR, no, the QPR doesn't even look at that. Anyway, the COC competition is over. So like we already used the bed utilization from that in that way, the way it's always been calculated. But going forward, the COC is going to be calculating it the way it is in our minor. So for APR purposes, though, that the APR is still, as far as I know, going to be calculated on the last Wednesday of the month. So for HUD, you'll be using their bed and unit utilization calculations, but for COC purposes, we're going to start using this more sort of evened out way of looking at this utilization. The thing that I noticed looking at the data and the difference between doing it this way and the other way is that the lines were, this is not a good example, but the lines were a lot more smooth and there was just not as much fluctuation as there is when you just measure on the last Wednesday of the month. So I know the original question was like not that detailed, but I think it is important to recognize that going forward, really this bed and unit utilization report will replace the one that's in ART. So, and we're not going to like remove the old one necessarily. And if anybody has any concerns about this change, I would encourage you to send in a ticket. Does that answer the question? Does that answer the question?
They might have been looking for a more specific time, like what when we anticipate that.
I think it's going to be report by report. It's not going to be like one day stop using ART. It's going to be like one day stop using the data quality reports in ART and start using R minor. Or one day it'll be like no more QPR in ART. It's all in R minor now. So it'll be like that. Another question that I would anticipate getting eventually is what about the diversion app? So like the plan with this one, with the unsheltered data quality and the diversion, this is also an R Shiny thing that we built. This is all going to be moved into R minor eventually. but it's still live, so you would still use this for your unsheltered data quality and your diversion data quality. But we'll be telling you report by report when something changes. Did that answer better? Anything else? Okay. All right, well, I think that's it then. We will send out the recording once we get it posted, and I appreciate everybody who came today. I really appreciate everybody's time. So yeah, thanks. Bye.